Welcome back, everyone, for our next round of session spotlights for Convergence 2026. This is an opportunity for you to get to know our upcoming leaders, their sessions, and to give you a better idea of what you might like to register for during Convergence 2026 in New Orleans. Today, we will be hearing from Marcia Weiss for the for the double weave drafting class, Pam James, upcycling sweater yarn, eco-friendly and economical, Patricia Martin for color wheels for predicting color in fiber, Jennie Hawkey, monk's belt, a simple and delightful weave, and Deborah Silver going over split shed weaving deep dive, multiple structures on 4 shafts. Registration is open. Advanced priority registration is currently open, with priority registration opening on October 27th and general registration beginning on November 10th. If you're interested in getting a head start on registration, please head online or give us a call and we would be happy to help. As a reminder, Convergence 2026 will be taking place in New Orleans, Louisiana from August 12th through the 16th. If you have not already looked through the registration booklet, you can find a digital copy online. There you will see all kinds of information about the different sessions and events taking place, including the marketplace, exhibits, fashion show, keynote speaker, tours, and more. We will be hosting over 100 sessions, ranging from 90-minute seminars to 3-day workshops. As we learn more about these workshops today, please put any questions you have in the Q&A section. This is your time to get answers directly from the instructors. First up, we've got Marcia Weiss and her double weave drafting class.
Hello. Bear with me while I manage the technology. There we go. Hopefully you can hear me even if you can't see me. Now I can see me, so hopefully so can you. So, hi, I'm Marcia Weiss. I'm very happy to join you today from my home studio outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, and it's a gorgeous fall day here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. It's always, will the technology work? That's always the joy of this. All right, so thank you so much for joining us today and for considering these great sessions at Convergence. I very much look forward to being in New Orleans with everyone this next summer. So I'm here today to talk about my double weave drafting seminar. This is a 3-hour seminar that will occur on Thursday, August 13th in the morning, 9 a.m. to noon. And it's a session that I've taught multiple times. Double weave is my joy. It is my very happy place. And in this session, this is going to be a technical how-to. You need zero knowledge of double weave. This is the place to come and learn. So my joy will be teaching you the 5 steps that it takes to draft double cloth weaves or double weaves. You'll learn in this session how to create the weaves, the threading, the tie-up, treadling for a whole range of double weave structures. And my goal is for you to understand the process, understand the technique, so that you're able to do this then on your own and even create more opportunities. So some of the things that we'll be learning about are vertical tubes, horizontal tubes, double width fabric. So if you want to make fabric that's wider than your loom, how to create checkerboards, how to create pockets, pockets that could encase things, how to make 2 single layers, and how to combine double weave and single cloth or single weave, if you will, in one fabric. And of course, pleats. I love, love, love pleats. So we'll be going through all of this in class. I will have with me in class a loom where you can see how some of these different structures are created, and I'll also have lots and lots of samples to share. So to show a few examples, a few pictures, you'll learn how to create 2 separate layers of cloth and also tubular textiles. So if you wanted to make a big tube, let's say you wanted to make a bag that's closed on the bottom and closed on the sides but open on the top, this would be a structure where you could do that. Perhaps you wanted to make horizontal tubes in your fabric where, because you wanted to hang something in your studio to hold your shuttles or bobbins or paintbrushes or other tools, leaf sticks, for example. So we'll learn how to make horizontal tubes. Double width fabric. This is an example where I typically love weaving with linen, and this is 2 layers of linen. One is a heavier or more coarse linen, the other is much finer, and you can see through it. So how do we make fabric wider than our loom? Once we talk about double width, we'll also talk about triple width, quad width. So again, great opportunities to maximize what you can do with your loom. Vertical tubes, depending on the number of shafts or harnesses you have on your loom, vertical tubes are very possible. Again, I will have samples and we're going to walk through the process of how do we design these so that we can make it happen. I believe in making the loom do the work for you. Checkerboards, some examples of these are all double weaves, and in the case of the one on the right, it's also warp ikat on both layers. Pockets. The image on the left is single cloth in the background and then double weave pockets, and those were stuffed with some fiber. In the middle, it's the same sort of construction. And here I've got buttons in it from my grandmother's button box. I know at least one person, if not more of you who are watching this today, understand what a button box is. And then on the right, this is interchanging layers to create pockets. And we'll look at, again, opportunities for putting double weave and single cloth together in a fabric. So this is a matter of what are you interested in doing? We'll find a way to do that. I love, one of the things that I truly love about double weave is the opportunity to bring things to the front when you want to show them and push them to the back when you don't want to see them. And pleats. I shared in the beginning, I love pleats. Truly, it's one of my very happy places. You'll see on the loom that I bring with me for this session, the way I've hacked a loom to put a second back beam on it. Not 100% necessary, but does make pleats more joyful. And joy is my word. So if I'm not finding joy in it, I'm not interested in doing it. So my husband helped me very simply hack the loom that I'm bringing with me to put a second back beam on for a loom where purchasing one was not possible. All right, and here you've got just my final slide with thank you, see you in New Orleans. Here's my email address. Please don't hesitate to reach out with questions. I did want to, I'm going to stop sharing so that maybe you can see me a little better. So the things to bring, there's a $5 materials fee, and the $5 will cover a full color booklet that you'll receive, which will cover what we're talking about in class, but then also give you the opportunity to take those notes home with you. The things for you to bring, bring 2 colors of highlighters. Any 2 colors are fine. They don't have to be orange and green, but any 2 colors of highlighters. Bring graph paper. You decide if it's 4 squares to the inch or 8 squares to the inch. Whatever works for you is perfect. And a pencil and an eraser. So that's what I'd love to have you bring. I will bring extra highlighters, extra graph paper, and extra pencils just in case. But so that's it. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any questions.
We do have a couple here. At the very end there, you just mentioned the material fee and the handout. We do have one question asking, if there will be handouts, but specifically, will it have images in addition to the instructions?
Great. Thank you for that question. The handout will absolutely have images in addition to the instructions, and it will have some additional resources as well for somebody who wants to go look at some of my, we all have our favorite resources. And so this will be the opportunity for you to dig into some additional resources. And in many cases, these additional resources, whether they're books or articles, are available online or perhaps in your local guild. Many of you perhaps are members of a local guild, and guild libraries have these amazing gems in them that people don't even know about. So yes, thank you. Thank you for that question.
Wonderful. And I would just like to maybe highlight a little bit more about the structure of the class. Is this going to be more lecture based? Is it going to be interactive? What would students expect if they take this class?
Yes, thank you for that. So my full-time gig is in academia, and what I joke about is that I could stand and talk about a pencil for 3 hours if I needed to. I kind of get paid to talk, but most people are not going to be happy sitting and listening to me for 3 hours. So I'm going to be doing some lecturing and some presentation. We're going to be looking at some samples and passing them around. And then you're going to be working with me on developing your own graphs, if you will, so that when you leave, you have information in hand that you've created that shows that you understand the process. It's a little bit like learning a new language, and that can be both unsettling and joyful. So we're going to practice it in class, which is why I want you to come with graph paper and highlighters and a pencil. So it's definitely hands-on.
So students will be leaving this class, if I'm understanding correctly, with a basically a pattern draft that they can take home to put on their loom. They don't have to worry about having a loom to dress on site.
That's exactly right. Yes. So no loom required, no experience with multi-layer weaving required. Um, we're going to talk through it as a group. And what I love about teaching at Convergence is when we've got a group of like-minded individuals together, we work together to make sure that everybody understands the topic. So you don't need to bring a loom. You're not going to actually have time to bring a loom and do this, but you're welcome to play on the loom that I bring.
And I think last, I kind of just want to um, maybe compare and contrast. You've also got the Joyful Double Weave workshop going on at Convergence this year. Can you kind of highlight the differences between those two classes or if they maybe complement each other?
Thank you for that. Yes, I mean, truly, they do complement one another. The Joyful Double Weave is a 1 day workshop, and that's very much hands-on, where participants will receive in advance information about how to warp and thread their loom. And then when they come to class, we're going to work through all the tie-ups and treadlings and work through essentially developing a blanket of different techniques in the class. So that's a hands-on, you come with a pre-warped loom, and we go from there. This is the technical how-to for those who either maybe just want to stick a toe in the water or don't have the opportunity to come and bring a loom. This is a technical how-to, so you can go home with this information. I certainly would welcome students taking both. If that's an opportunity for you, great. Join me twice. I'd love to have you in both of the workshop and this seminar. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions. Like my email is accessible, so please don't hesitate to reach out as you're considering what you want to take at Convergence.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for going over that class with us a little bit more again. That was Marcia Weiss talking about the Double Weave Drafting class, which is a 3-hour seminar taking place on August 13th. Up next, we have Pam James, who's going to be talking about upcycling sweater yarn, eco-friendly and economical.
Hi, everybody. I think I've done this right. Is that correct?
I can see it, yep.
Okay, so I am teaching a class on unraveling sweaters for yarn, and your first reaction might be, why? And the answer is you can get a lot more yarn for a lot less money, but the main reason I do it is because I love all the textures. There's a lot more textures in sweater yarn. There's a large variety of fibers. I have occasionally found silk and even linen, and there's an environmental benefit. So this is an SYOS, bring your own sweater, BYOS, whatever. And so you will start with that, and I will reveal to you the secret code of finding the ends of the chain stitching. And then you will end up with your sweater in sections. And after that, you will unravel. And in this case, I ended up with 5 balls, front, back, 2 sleeves, and a collar, and ta-da, sweater to yarn. So when you do this, the thing I love about this is the variety of yarns. So the blue on the side is probably from a man's sweater because they're really big. The novelty yarn in the front was unplied from something, possibly the orange behind it. And the metallic gold is some that I unplied from some fuzzy black, but I think I left most of it in one piece or one together. And that gray in the middle has sequins in it. So you could end up with these really fun yarns, or you could end up with this. And if you end up with this, you start to think about yarn differently. So the green, I undid this green sweater and then looked at all of the options. Not all of them are here because I applied it to silver and black, and then I applied it to light green and medium green, and to medium green and dark green, and to dark green and black. And you could do that all kinds of combinations. And when I wanted to make the shirt on the right, I wanted a lightweight black yarn. And I have learned that the yarn in the really heavy cotton sweaters, like you get from LL Bean and Eddie Bauer, are more like embroidery floss. So I had a 6-ply black yarn that I applied to 2-ply, and it worked great for the warp for this shirt. So I've done these things. You can see there's a wide variety of yarns and techniques and whatever. I love the white jacket. I also have a shawl like that. White comes in so many different shades and so many different textures. I enjoy, that's my joy, I guess. And this, the red wall hanging, again, lots of textures. The blue shirt is very lightweight, and I was applying that as I was threading the heddles. And the scarf, I started out with 2 yarns. One was white, purple, and turquoise, and the other one was white and 2 shades of purple, which I put on as a clasp warp. But when I got done, you can see it looks more like a clasp or a painted warp when I finished. So the final message is, if this doesn't scare you, you should sign up for my class.
I love it. And this is such a great way to, I like that you included that economical moment in the title, because you really are repurposing and upcycling these sweaters. We've got a couple questions for you about the sweaters specifically.
Okay.
Does it matter what kind of sweater it is, like the material content or the structure?
I will send out all the instructions before the class and how to pick the best sweaters. But I will tell you the main thing is make sure the seams aren't serged. Because if the seams are serged, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of ends the width of the sweater. And there's some different, some other finer points. But basically, any most sweaters are chain stitched, 99% of them. And so, but to me, I choose the sweater by the weight of the yarn, what I want to do, what I intend to do, or think I might do with it. And I choose it. I like cotton. I don't buy wool because I don't like wool, but there's no reason why you can't choose wool. The difference, one of the things about, well, one of the things about any sweater, depending on how old it is, it may be felted, even if it's cotton. And so then you might have a lot of breakage
Mm.
and you won't end up with the 5 nice, tidy, whatever. But yes, it does not matter what fiber it is at all.
Okay, awesome. And I just want to take a second to note, since you've mentioned you're going to send some more detailed instructions out before the class. So
Correct.
anybody who's considering taking this class, we do give instructors their participant lists about 90 days ahead of time. So you will have plenty of time to prepare and pull this stuff together before class.
And there's nothing real, you need to bring your sweater. I confess that I will have a few there just in case you pick one that's just not going to work or you're going to get really frustrated with. So I will have a few extras, but everything you need can fit in about this much space plus your sweater.
Do you have a recommendation on considering the length of the class, how either like what size of a sweater they'll be able to accomplish in one session, or like if it's an extra small, should they bring a couple?
No, the answer is it depends on how hard it is to get. Well, it depends on how long it takes you to get it apart. And it depends a little bit on whether you can just hold the sweater out here with your ball winder and do this, or if you're going to have to kind of unravel it and then wind it, unravel it, wind it. But the reason this class, when I was proposing this class, I said 90 minutes isn't long enough and 3 hours is really too long, probably. So no, 90 minutes, I want people to get to that point where they're winding it all and balling it. It's an an aha moment. It's like, whoa, this is really cool. I started with a sweater and I ended up with all this yarn.
And you mentioned, the possibility of unplying the yarns as well. Is that something that folks will have the opportunity to learn how to do in this class?
Yes, that's not hard to do. It's just I might be able to show you. I two ball winders. Put them together. There you can see them. Put them together with a chopstick. And so I can unply stuff easily that way.
Hmm. Very
I'm certainly not going to ask people to bring two ball winders, but if we have two there and I bring a chopstick, we could do that if we wanted to.
Speaking of, is there anything other than the sweater that students should bring to class with them?
Yeah, that'll be on the list. I recommend a ball winder if they have one, mostly just I have to stop and remember, just pointed scissors, maybe a seam ripper just to pick at it, or a crochet hook, um, glasses if you need them. I can't remember it's not a very long list.
Well, this sounds like such a cool class. I'm excited to see what sweaters folks decide to bring and the kind of yarn that they get out of it. So, thank you so much for diving into that class a little bit more. Again, that was Pam James talking about the Upcycling Sweater Yarns Eco-Friendly and Economical class, which is a 3-hour seminar taking place on Saturday, August 15th.
And by the way, I'm wearing something that came from that, so there's that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And up next, we've got Patricia Martin, who's going to be talking about color wheels for predicting color in fiber.
Hello, I'm
Up, you were unmuted and then you
yeah,
got muted
there we
somehow.
go.
There we go.
We're back. So I'm excited actually I love New Orleans. I'm from the West Coast of California, and New Orleans is full of music, and that's one of my favorite things in life. The second thing that's my favorite thing in life is chocolate. I love chocolate. But the third thing I love is color. And color is what we're going to be talking about. We're actually going to it's a hands-on 3-hour seminar, and we are going to actually make, I did this old-fashioned way. We're going to be making our own color wheels. Now that sounds kind of basic, but we're also going to go through the process of how you determine what kind of colors you like, what kind of colors work together. We talk about colors and we talk about, oh, do we like these colors together? What about these colors do we not like? What happens if we mix them up? Does that make it different? Do those really work and those don't work? Or, oh, I really like these two colors, but I need a zinger. I need a little special something. Maybe I want to add a color that adds emphasis to a basic project. So we're going to go through that process. We're also going to discuss actually what is a color wheel. We're going to start off with that actually. And it's really interesting because my background is in color sampling and color corrections and color matching. So it's really interesting that when I hear people say, oh, a color match, and they give color that you would look at on the computer screen, or they give color that you would use to paint with. But we're not painters of pigments, we're painters of yarn, which is what makes Pam James' class so fascinating. I'm like, oh, that's so luscious. But what we're going to do is we're going to take those colors and we're going to kind of look at how we can make the best use of color and what shade of color or what what, if we look at a variety of colors, these are all the same color, right? There they are, but they're all very different. And why is that? We're going to look at that. We're going to look at and define what is a hue, what is a tint, what is a shade, what is a pastel. Are those synonymous words? Are they not? We're going to be talking about that all the while you're going to be creating your own color wheel. So you're going to actually make one of these. This is a base, but it also gives you lots of information as to what you can do, how you can match up colors to make them work. It also gives you a little clue down here in the bottom about your tints and your shades. When someone says it's a 3 on the scale, then you know what that means. It also translates though to from your black and white like you saw in the original picture, which is my mind and my camera are not that coordinated. So you see that black and white picture of woven, but then what happens if you do something like that? All of a sudden, it's completely a different feel in your hand woven. But what about that one? Right? Those two colors are pretty close together. Is that the feel I wanted? Or what about that one? So we have all kinds of different things that we're going to look at while we're building this color wheel. And in part of the materials fee, which is a little on the high side, but at the same time, it's worth every penny because that's what it really costs, is you get the foam board, you get all of the yarns, you get the little cutout chips, and you get a bunch of Velcro to put them on so that you can take with you and play with all of your color wheels. So what happens if you mix those two together? And unfortunately, in this light, you can't really see that very well, but you can see this blue and this blue, right? They're both blues. The other thing we're going to talk about, and then you'll have a whole descriptor of definitions so that you can remind yourself of what you want. The other thing that you'll get is you will get different wheels for different things. Like this particular wheel will remind you what a split complementary is. This particular wheel will show you what an analogous is. So if you forget these things, all of the cheat sheets are right here and a complementary. This is a complementary wheel. They will go with you when you go home. The only thing you need to bring with you, if you can, I know airplanes are kind of funny, is a pair of scissors. I will bring the rest of the scissors. And of course, you're always welcome to bring your own yarns if you have any kind of questions. You don't need to bring more than a couple of yards because then we can play with it. And I would recommend if you're thinking about a specific weave structure, fiber to be spun or fabric to be put together, bring those and we can use those as a topic of conversation. I'm going to back up a little bit and say we will talk slightly about the 4 different color methods, but we'll talk about the one they use in yarns mostly, and that's the Pantone system. So if you're not familiar with that, we'll go with that one also. I hope you will join me. It will be fun. Like I said, color's one of my favorite things in the world, along with chocolate and the music of New Orleans. So I will see you there. Thank you.
New Orleans will be the perfect place for you then.
Definitely.
So, it sounds like for that materials fee, which by the way, for folks listening in is just $25, it sounds like you're actually getting so much for that. And I even kind of didn't realize this from your description, but it sounds like with the Velcro that these color wheels are actually adaptable. So like if somebody gets different yarns over time, they'll be able to update and move those colors around.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, everybody works in a different color palette. We didn't talk about that at all because that's part of the class. But let's say I have one student who only likes to work in greens. Well, it makes no sense to do a full color wheel that she always uses when she's using a green color wheel. So we can talk about making a green color wheel that has the same kind of premise, thinking about its tones, its tints, and its shades. And then we can also talk about, well, what happens when you use a matte finish yarn versus a shiny yarn, or a hairy yarn versus a really slick looking yarn, or a textured yarn, or a yarn that's, I have to say, it's a knitting yarn, because they come up with fantastical yarns for that. So we get to play with all of that in this 3-hour period, which sounds like a lot of time and is going to be super crammed. I promise you're going to run out of time, but you're going to get your color wheel finished and your ideas for what your next things are and what you're going to buy in the vendor hall, because all of a sudden you're like, oh, I think I need this, this, and this color. That's the one of the things that's so much fun about Convergence.
Well, I love that you touched on that actually about being able to make these even using the shades and tones and like having just all greens, like your example. Um, that makes it sound so adaptable to folks who maybe already have a really strong color scheme in their work, to still be able to learn and dive deeper into those color palettes and the potential that those have.
Thank you.
For the other thing you mentioned with the marketplace, I also want to call out, you mentioned scissors. We will have vendors and such in the marketplace that have scissors. So if you guys are concerned about flying, we'll be able to help you out there, with the
And I will
vendor
bring
list as
extra,
well.
so you don't have to go out and buy a pair of scissors that just for this class. So that's not a problem.
Yeah. And I have a question about the colors then. If somebody does have their specific color scheme or they just want to create this with materials in their stash, um, how much maybe yarn from each cone should they bring? Like if they want to make this color wheel out of their materials, what should they bring?
1 to 2 yards. It's not a lot. The,
Okay.
the, the color samples are 1.5-inch squares. So this is, I think, is a one yard or 1.25 yard piece of yarn. So you can use that, or let's see, I had another one over here. Now I can't find it, with more texture, right? So you can see the difference between a mercerized cotton and of textured yarn. It's not wildly textured, but it still gives you the idea of what you might be thinking about. Like, what if I put these two together? What if I made log cabin with these two? Would they work? That's the other thing we're going to cover. We're going to try, and I'll give you a few tips about how you can check your colors so that you make sure that if you need a high contrast color, will they work together or will it go flat? So those are things we'll also be talking about in terms of the weaving.
Well, I love color. This sounds like such a wonderful workshop. Thank you so much for going a little bit more in depth about it. I'm so excited about this one. Again, that was Patricia Martin talking about color wheels for predicting color in fiber, which is a 3-hour seminar taking place on Saturday, August 15th.
Thank you.
Thank you. And up next, we have Jennie Hawkey, who's going to be talking about Monk's Belt, a simple and delightful weave.
Hi, everybody. I'm very pleased to be offering this workshop at Convergence and that I was chosen to do so. What an honor. New Orleans is such a wonderful place and inspiring in lots of ways, especially the arts. So I think you'll find it a great place to be. My presentation is going to be on the last day of the conference, and so my goal is to make it so memorable that that's what you want to go home and try. So this is a one-day workshop where you will bring a warp loom, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. Monk's Belt, and I kid you not, is one of my favorite weaves, and you can see the lovely simplicity of it here. But it also is a weave that you can do so much with. So to start out, when you register for the class, Erica said, I get your email address, so I will send you instructions in advance to warp your loom. And I realize people need some time to get a loom warped. It'll also be a warp that if you'd like to make it wider or maybe even narrower, those things are possible. I realize different kinds of looms come in for the workshop, but also we're going to talk about if you'd like to make something out of the warp that you put on after the workshop, that you could perhaps get a product from that too. So that will come out to you, and I'm very specific about the drafts. I try to make them reasonably easy, but also a little bit of a challenge so that you are trying something new and you're probably looking to see how that could work. So as we start the workshop, and we've got 1 day, so we're going to try to pack a lot into that. First of all, we're going to talk about the structure of monk's belt. And if you've woven overshot before, or you've seen it, it is an overshot. It is a structure where you are weaving plain weave with one shuttle, and you are weaving a pattern with a second shuttle. And we will go specifically how to do that. I will make it simplified if you have not done that before. So I hope that doesn't scare you. It is a little bit step up from using one shuttle, but certainly very handleable. And the other thing about this structure is the warp and I would ask you to do one color. So in this example, it's white, but that means you can make the weft be all sorts of colors and do lots of different things with it. During the workshop, then, you're going to experiment with colors and with variations, and you will get specific samples to go through. We will start with the pattern itself and weave that, and then I will give you variations to weave so that if you can't finish them all, it will be your loom. You could probably just take it home and finish up, but I will try to have the right amount for getting done in a day, or at least getting close, so that you know what's going on and you have me as instructor there if you need any help with things. One of the wonderful things you can do with monk's belt very easily is design borders. And this is an example of kind of a wide border, but you could probably imagine looking at this picture, even breaking that down into a smaller part. And so I will be having you decide on how your border is going to look. We'll probably get out some graph paper and you can graph out what you want it to look like and weave it up from there. So I know that people sometimes aren't real confident in their skills. I will tell you, I've been a teacher from kindergarten through lots of adults, and so I'm used to breaking down steps. I don't mind that people are needing some extra help within a workshop. So if you're a beginner, you're welcome to try this workshop and to come in and weave. I think you'll find it's very doable. If you are a more advanced person, I will try to challenge you there also. So if you have any questions, my email address will be on the website for Convergence, and you are welcome to get a hold of me and ask, whether before you register or after. I often have people ask questions specifically about workshops, and I'm very happy to answer multiple questions. It's not a problem at all. So what should you bring? Well, you would be expected to bring a warped loom. That's the big one. You'll get the draft from me. You'll warp up your loom. You'll fold it up and throw it in your car or whatever process you're going to do, and bring your loom with you. If you need a little bit help with warping, I'm happy to do that. Or because it's late in the workshop, if you need to consult with me earlier in the week, I'm happy to do so too, if you feel like you've maybe made a mistake or not sure what you're doing. Also, you're going to need two shuttles. I suggest boat shuttles. It could be other shuttles, but I think those work best for this kind of thing. So you can put lots of yarn on them. So boat shuttles with bobbins, and then the weaving tools. And so there, I'll give you a specific list, but we will be putting a floating selvage on there. If you're not sure what that is, I'll teach that to you too. Don't worry about it. And then as far as yarns, I suggest that that pearl cotton, 10-2 and 5-2 pearl cotton. And I can help you with how much, but that gives you an idea right there. 800 yards of 10-2 and 5-2 at 400 yards for the sample size that I suggest. Of course, if you're going to make a bigger sample, you'd need more yarn. If you're going to do a smaller sample, you need less. And again, I can help you figure that out. If you have a different yarn, so for instance, you have lots of 3-2 and 5-2, we can figure that out too. And I've got the directions for that. I'd much rather, if you already have yarn that you can use that's appropriate for this, I'd much rather you have the opportunity to do that than have to go out and buy more yarn in what I ask. And a 3-2 and 5-2, for instance, would make a lovely monk's belt and a very similar sample to what this one is. I talked a little bit about weaving a project. I know when I go to a workshop and I warp for a sample, I hope that I could use the rest of that warp for something. And so I very much encourage that with students if they want to. You could, if you're only going to warp a couple of inches wide, then maybe we could come up with some ideas for that. Here's some ideas for bigger projects that could be done afterwards. And I'll talk to you more about what could be done. You probably won't have time to weave a lot of a project within the class, but when you get it home, hopefully then you can go on from there. So again, I'm teaching monk's belt. I find it a simple weave and delightful for sure. It is all day on Sunday, and I hope to see you there.
Thank you. Thank you. We've got a couple questions here about the loom requirement.
Oh, good.
We do have folks that come to Convergence and rent their looms. How much time should somebody allow to warp their loom if they're renting and they're not able to do it ahead of time?
Well, that kind of depends on how fast you are at warping, but I would say that if you do the smaller sample, or I can even give you a fairly small one, I would say half a day. So if you could get the loom the day before and warp, depending on how much time you have, I know you'll be going to the conference also. That might work for you. And I am happy I have time that evening before or whatever. If we want a warping group, I can do that. So
That
just
would
let me
be
know.
fun. And I know you mentioned it has to be a 4-shaft loom. The picture was a floor loom. Does it have to be a floor loom? Can somebody use a table loom?
It does not have to be a floor loom. A table loom is just fine. But also, if you have, for instance, you're bringing an 8-shaft loom. I know I have gone to conferences where I had 2 weaving classes during the week, and I started my first project, and then I took that warp off and went on to my second project. So if you had an 8-shaft loom, you just only need 4 of the shafts to use. A 2-shaft loom would not be a good choice, or a 3, I don't know if there's 3-shaft looms, but a rigid headless loom, for instance, would not be a good choice for this workshop.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much for highlighting that. And um, I had one other question that just slipped my mind.
Well, if you think of it later, let me know.
I will do so. Thank you so much. That was Jennie Hawkey talking about Monk's Belt, a simple and delightful weave, which is a one-day workshop taking place Sunday, August 16th. And our last presenter today is Deborah Silver, who's going to be talking about split shed weaving deep dive, multiple structures on 4 shafts.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Silver. I'm teaching a 3-day class in split shed weaving, and it is a deep dive because there's so many things you can do on just 4 shafts and split shed weaving. In this class, you can use a table loom, a jack loom, a direct tie-up loom, and it is just about the easiest warping you can possibly do because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way across. Unless you're on a direct tie-up loom, and then it's 1, 4, 2, 3 all the way across. And the warp is about 9 inches wide, so you don't need a big table loom if that's all you've got. And don't be intimidated if you're a beginner. As long as you know how to warp your loom and follow a simple 4-shaft draft, you can take this class. I'm going to start a screen share here. Okay, so this is the class. It's 3 days. And if you're somebody who really likes weave structures and playing with different weave structures, and you never think you have enough shafts, and you like the idea of tapestry, but you think, I'd love to do imagery, but then I'll miss out on all this cool structure, split shed weaving is for you. And what a split shed is instead of just one big shed that you're throwing your shuttle through, you've got this middle layer of warp that's splitting that one big shed into 2 smaller sheds. And you're using a flat shuttle to go in and out of that middle layer. And that's how you can apply it to so many different weave structures just by how you're maneuvering your shafts. So on a floor loom, like a jack loom, you'd be using 2 feet. 1 foot is just raising 1 or 2 shafts halfway up to get that halfway up layer. But it really gives you the freedom to choose where you want to see more weft and where you want to see less weft. So you can get a lot of detail and not have to worry about blocks at all. So when we're in class, the first thing we start with is just one continuous weft weaving, just with twills. And you have a lot of choices in terms of which twill sample you want to weave. We keep the designs simple because this is about learning a process, not creating a masterpiece. So we start with just one continuous weft. And then we move on to tide weaves, where you've got a pattern weft followed by a tabby weft. And there's also many, many options. Again, with just this straight threading, you can do all of these different options of weave structures. And it's very exciting. Then we move on to color blending, where instead of just one weft going through, you're throwing 2 wefts in every single row. And those wefts can combine to create a blended color. So instead of just, a pattern and a ground, you've got your pattern weft A or pattern weft B, or your combination where you can see both wefts, or your ground. So that opens up so many possibilities once you start doing color blending. And we try to stick with simple shapes in the workshop, something like this, where you're really seeing that modulation from one color to another color. And we use a cartoon that's on cloth. You can see it here below the warp. I bring all of the cartoon materials, so you don't have to bring anything. I also bring designs that you can trace onto the cartoons, but you are certainly welcome to bring your own. So that's part of the materials fee. With the handouts, you get all the cartoon making stuff. And the other thing you'll learn is weaving on opposites, where you're throwing 2 wefts, and where one weft is in that upper part of that split shed, the second weft is following in the lower half, and then they can change places. So you always see one weft or the other, and it's reversible. And that is how you create double cloth and split shed weaving. So like this middle double cloth in this picture, that's traditional double weave and split shed. This image with the rows on the left is what you can create in our workshop, where we're using fatter wefts to make up for the fact that we only have one color in our warp. And I talk a lot about the different weave structures because there's a lot of structures that we cover that normally people with 4-shaft looms might not want to experiment with. So I tell you about like what makes a tide weave, and the structure of PK. But I also talk about how to take an image and kind of gel it down to weave. Because that can be very intimidating, taking something like a face and making it into something that is a weavable structure with just using 2 pattern wefts. So I do go over that, and you're certainly welcome to bring your own drawings to class. And if if you have a light table, that's even more, wonderful. But I do talk about strategies for doing that. And then I try to leave also room on the third day for you to either go back and experiment with some things that maybe you didn't get a chance to really delve into, or you want to try a different weave structure, or you can try to combine 3 wefts together. With 3 wefts in a row, you can get up to 6 different color combinations, or 4 wefts in taquete, where you have 14 different color combinations. Or you can try weaving piqué. This is a before and after with piqué, and this puffiness that you see is inherent in the cloth after you take it off and you wet finish it. So you have many, many options on this one warp. And it's just 8/4 cotton carpet warp. It's very cheap. You get to choose your own color, and you get to choose your own weft colors. And I give you a list of weft types and possibilities to bring in. But most of you will probably have these wefts in your stash. So I do hope to see you there. New Orleans, I'm going to just echo what some other people have said. It is, if you've never been there, a phenomenal city, very full of history and amazing music and even more amazing food. So I do encourage you to come to Convergence. It's going to be phenomenal. And I'm here to take your questions. Let me do a stop share.
These images are blowing my mind that this is all being made on a 4-shaft loom.
Yeah, this one on the left, it's the same 4 colors throughout the whole piece. It's sort of like the CMYK you can do with your printer. You have your 4 colors and you can do 14 different combinations. It's fun. We're not doing anything this complicated in class though, I promise.
It's so wild. That's such a cool, this is going to be such a great class. I'm so excited that we are offering this upcoming conference. I have a couple questions here. We do have a question from Kate. Can I do this? Oh, can I do split shed weaving on a countermarch loom?
At home, I use a countermarch loom exclusively. It's fantastic for countermarch looms. Don't bring one to the workshop though, because it's a whole different animal in terms of tie-ups.
Okay, so for this workshop, we just want like jack looms specifically, or yep.
Jack looms, table looms, or direct tie-up looms.
Okay. And you mentioned some of the materials folks are going to have to use. What else, or maybe a little bit more detail on that? What should folks bring to this class?
You need 2 flat shuttles and 1 other shuttle of your choosing. Those are the 2 big ones, and just a variety of wefts. And I'll send with the warping instructions, like suggestions for wefts to bring. But I also bring a lot of wefts because it's fun to try to play with blending different colors. And a lot of times you don't know until you're there. So and
Sure.
I will say this workshop is such a great equalizer because so many people, it's new for everyone. So if you're a beginner and you're worried like, oh, there's so many advanced weavers better than me, a lot of times it's the beginners that do better in my class than the advanced weavers because it's just so new to everyone.
You maybe don't have to fight those like preconceived notions that folks are
Right.
bringing in. So I guess on that note, what kind of experience should somebody have before taking this class? What type of weaving should they know how to do already?
As long as you can warp a 4-shaft loom and follow just a very simple 4-shaft draft, you're fine. Really.
Incredible. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing more about this class. I have to admit, I'm very jealous that I'm working this event and won't be able to take it. So I'll just have to live vicariously through all of you that are able to sign up. Again, that was Deborah Silver talking about the split shed weaving deep dive. multiple structures on a 4-shaft loom. This is a 3-day workshop taking place Wednesday through Friday, August 12th through the 15th. And you guys can find more information about these classes, all of our other classes and events on our website at weavespindye.org. There you will also be able to register. You can just look under the Convergence tab, go to the sessions and leaders, and you'll be able to find all sorts of good information. We are going to be offering these session spotlights every day at 1 p.m. Eastern Time until mid-November, and the recordings will be available on HGA's YouTube channel. So if there are any other classes that you're interested, please join us, and I look forward to seeing you there.